But Game Boy Tetris. Tetris on the original Game Boy, the DMG, man. I love that game. It's been a go-to game of mine for as long as I can remember. I kept that Game Boy, the original Game Boy with that Tetris, for many, many, many years. And it was a hand-me-down to begin with. A big brick. I don't have it anymore. It crapped out. I got rid of it at some point, which I actually regret doing, but that's okay. But that's okay. I have devices like the Anbernic, and I have ways to play Game Boy games. They're super easy, you know, if you're sailing the high seas. But Game Boy Tetris has an amazing soundtrack, which is really funny because, you know, you think Game Boy, it's like chiptune. You know, it's simple, but simple doesn't mean not good. Simple just means simple. So Game Boy Tetris has a simple, good soundtrack. I love it. I get into like a trance state when I play Tetris because of that soundtrack. It's amazing. So the soundtrack complements the puzzle aspects of that game, where you're just getting and sinking deep into the level, deep into your the situation that the game has put you in. And the gameplay in this Tetris is simple and unique. It's so simple, they don't give you extra views of the tetraminos that are popping up later on. They give you one, so you can see the next one. And it's also random, like totally random, which one comes up next. Like there is no, like with the modern Tetris games, like Puyo Puyo Tetris 1 and 2, Tetris Connected, or whatever that is. I don't even know what that one is. Tetris Connected? I think. I don't know. But those, they changed the RNG in those games to be more able for you to get the same tetraminos over time. So like, I think it's every 7 or 8, the likelihood of that one coming up again. So like at the most it would be like 16 that you'd have to wait to get another one. Because if you got like the one that you wanted right away and then it went through all the other tetraminos and then it started over again and it happened to be that last one, so it would be like 16, I think, something like that, or 14, that you would have to wait to get that same, the most that you would have to wait to get that same tetramino again. So this game doesn't do that. It's completely random. Like you could get 10 squares in a row and you would think, oh well, that's good. Like it makes that game way harder. Like if I play Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, I can pile up stuff all over and then plan on getting that long one or those long 2 after stashing one also, and then knocking down and getting like 2 Tetrises in a row. In this game, the risk reward for you to try to do that, it's not worth it to try to go for like 8. Like there's no way. You can get 4, but like if you're starting to pile up on one side, it's not smart. Because once you get to the top also, like towards the top, I would say the top 1/3. So 66% of the screen you're good, but once you get to that top 33% that's left, you really can't even use it because you can hardly move the thing fast enough to get to the one side or the other. So it's like you can't, it's almost impossible to do it. I'm sure there are people that can do it with their reflexes that are capable of doing it. I can't. So like anytime it gets above like halfway, it's just panic mode, trying to get it to move. without stacking on accident when it's upside down or whatever, because it just doesn't seem like it's possible. So I think that they've modded it through the years. They've changed it, they've adjusted it to make it more possible, more easily accessible. But that Tetris on the Game Boy is my go-to. It allows me to feel like I've mastered something, and it's so simple to just pick up and play that I can just shut my mind off and just like sink into it and look at the green screen and just lose myself in that game for like 10 minutes to see if I can get like over 100 Tetris like removals. I don't even know what it's called when you remove a layer, I guess. I don't know, I'm not big into the whole understanding the complexities of Tetraminos. I just really enjoy the game and how it makes me feel. It's beautifully simple. So it's, I go to a Game Boy game. It's like, why would you play a Game Boy game? It's 2024 and you're playing the original Game Boy Tetris. But it's like something about that simplicity and something about that difficulty that keeps me coming back, because it doesn't give you 100 levels when you get, not levels, because the levels go up like per 10, but if you start on like level 3, it takes like 40 for you to even go up one level. I guess that makes sense. So if you start at level 3, it still counts you as like at 0, so you have to get 30 levels in order to grow that next one to go to level 4. That just made sense to me right now. I didn't really even think about that because I was playing it actually for this gameplay that's going to be up while I'm talking, but it might not be that far, because if I talk, I think I played for 15 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk about this Tetris Game Boy for 15 minutes. It seems like an awfully long time. But the buttons, being able to go one way or the other way with it, really, so like A and B, it's a 2-button game with the D-pad to move you left and right, so technically it's 4 buttons. And then you can go down faster also, so 5. But not counting the direction buttons, there's A and B, and those A and B buttons allow you to rotate it clockwise and counterclockwise, which I never really paid attention to when I was growing up, when I played this game, because I got this as a gift when I was really young. And so I would play it and I just, would try, it was like, the little S ones, they always go this way, and I didn't really know what I was doing, so I would lose really quick. But the ability to shift it clockwise and counterclockwise as you get better really adds a dimension of skill, which is funny because it's super simple, but like for you to add a dimension of skill to that, like a whole nother way that they can turn, it makes a big difference. It allows you to, as you start, getting higher up, to think, well, if I rotate it this way, it saves me, at least a second or so to be able to get it over there further than if I rotated it the other way and had to go all the way around instead of just doing one to the left. So I find myself not really utilizing that much, but I do utilize the 2 ways in Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. That's a crazy name, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. So I will do a video on that, and I'll probably release that after this. So it'll probably be at the end of this. When you get to the end of this video, you'll be able to click on that one. But yeah, this game was the first handheld game that I ever got, and it was a hand-me-down from my neighbor who gave me this with no batteries, and the screen was like peeled off, but it wasn't broken. It just had like the glue had come undone, so there was like a top layer, and so the screen itself was kind of exposed. But It worked great, sucked batteries down. It had to, I think it was 4 AA's. I haven't really researched this to know if I'm absolutely certain, but I'm pretty sure it was 4 AA's. And I remember burning through them, especially when I was playing Pokemon. But that soundtrack is definitely like imprinted in my mind. Like I would know that anywhere. That soundtrack, and especially now more over the last like year or two, I've played that game. Whenever I get a few minutes between shifts at my job, or like if I come in a tiny bit earlier, if I take the van and I'm hanging out in the van for a little bit, I'll pop that on, just play for 10 minutes. It is just my go-to game, because it doesn't feel like the stakes are high. It doesn't feel like, it feels like at any point I could just put the, the Anbernic to sleep, and it's like, okay, I'll come back later on, maybe I'm level 60 or whatever stage, or 60, I got 60 lines cleared. That's what it is, clearing lines. There we go. Okay, it took me 10 minutes. I'm a smart guy. So 60 lines, and then I can just hop back in later on. But, if I'm 100 in, I'm not going to probably turn it off right then unless, I really had to go to work. But yeah, Tetris for the Game Boy. 2024. I play that 5 times a week. 5 times a week. That's really funny now that I'm thinking about it. So I'll have some gameplay up. Show you, like, I can get to, 100 lines cleared. Relatively easy if I start on like level 3. If I start on 4, for some reason I don't know how the level system works really with the difficulty, but I do feel that if you start higher, it's like substantially harder, like the higher level that you start on. But yeah, Game Boy, I'll probably do a couple more Game Boy videos at some point. Batman, the original Batman, I love that game, and I didn't even find it until last year, 2023. I started playing it on the Anbernic device. But anyways, thank you for tuning in.